Destiny is a game that has hooks that have bored into my skull and made a permanent resting place in my brain. It's a game that I'm always at risk of relapsing and re-downloading even if I haven't thought about it in a very long time. I played Destiny 1 on release, and it was kind of the first game to really consume my life for an extended time. It changed the way I was playing games because I was just achievement hunting on Xbox before, but now I just wanted to play it instead. I met friends in the tower that I still talk to this day, and honestly, it's probably to blame for a lot of time not spent developing skills that are helpful in any way to my life. I even stuck through playing a lot of the rough times in Destiny 2 because nothing quite fills the exact space in gaming that Destiny does. I played on and off for years. I finally stopped playing after Lightfall. All of my friends had fallen off bit by bit each DLC until there were none playing anymore, and trying to LFG raids every week just isn't as much fun as getting the boys together to mess around, and I just felt like I was wasting so much money on a game that felt like it was just not going in the same direction as what I wanted it to. So recently, when I started getting that familiar tug in my synapses, trying to convince myself that it would probably be fun to play Destiny 2 again, I decided to give in, but to trick myself with heavy cope, I said, I'll make a worthwhile project out of it, and I will actually start uploading on my YouTube channel. This isn't me falling for it again, I'm definitely being productive this time. I want to get the full solo new player experience to figure out my questions about how worth it free-to-play is, because anything can be fun if you rope your friends in to play with you. So I started a new account on my second Steam account, and I will not be looking up any tutorials or 5 things I wish I knew videos or any of that. I want to go in as blind as I can as a returning player. So the goals I've set up for myself in this are: 1, I want to get to max light, which at the time of playing is 200 before any of the seasonal bonus stuff. And 2, I want to solo the free dungeon. This is to provide a good ending point that feels like a good solo accomplishment that can really capstone the project. Let's be real, no one's surprised I'm choosing Hunter. It's just the best class. Yell at me all you want, you know I'm right. Come on. The character customization in this game is very limited. It's kind of the case that it doesn't really matter though. You're kind of a gun and not really a character. Like, you aren't really going to feel a bond with a specific guardian that you create in this game. You're way more likely to regret deleting a gun from your vault than you would deleting a character just to remake them with like different eyeliner or something. Is this the same cutscene as the opening to Destiny 1? Like, I haven't played it in a long time, so I don't exactly remember, but with the guys in the spacesuit on the moon, am I just being Mandela affected or what? I do like the imagery of just a dude in a spacesuit carrying around an M16. I'm not sure why, but I do find it so funny. The second cutscene goes over the Golden Age. The Traveler comes here and basically becomes our new god, and then things are sweet, but then it turns out the Traveler is followed, and he gives one last boom in his death throes, gives us ghosts, and here we are. Narrator explains here that every alien we've ever met as humans hates us and wants us dead. This makes me think we probably did something horrible, but I have no proof, so I guess I'll carry on pretending I'm the good guy. Then we get kind of a who's who overview. You have your titans representing strength and bravery, and then your warlocks who are scholars and mages, and then your hunters who have gifts of cunning, which to me just sounds like they're saying that I'm just a good liar, which is kind of cool, I guess. But then we're introduced to our big bad, the Witness. And side note, does this dude look like a Disney Channel villain to anyone else, or is it just me who thinks that? We start out with the original intro mission from Destiny 1, and I'm not sure what changes, if any, have been made for this, but I know one change that wasn't. Your little robot sidekick is still annoying. I don't know why, but in almost every game, if you have a robotic sidekick, they will be annoying. Is it some unwritten rule somewhere? He tries too hard to be snarky and quippy while having no charisma at all. Maybe the only art I can think of that I feel like nailed this archetype of character is Interstellar, and the writing here is not on par with Interstellar. Side note here, how do people play with default sensitivities? I'm on 1600 DPI instead of 800, sure, but one mouse swipe has me spinning like a Beyblade. As I proceed through this mission, I'm having the same thoughts that I had when I first played this years ago. The atmosphere of that first room is so creepy and awesome, and it leaves you with so many questions and prompts you to want to know more about these little guys just skittering through the walls. I hope you got your fill of this feeling because you're never getting it again. When you get to the overworld, it puts you out in a public event type situation immediately. It's kind of a fun way to start, actually. Kind of a pretty good way to integrate a little co-op type stuff in a way that actually makes sense and doesn't feel like it's bringing your individual story to a halt. I was kind of surprised to hear my guardian actually has a voice now. I know they said a line once in one of the DLCs before, but I don't really know why they bothered, since your character still doesn't really get fleshed out in any sort of narrative sense, or at least I don't feel like they do. Once you get outside, it teaches you the most important mechanic in the whole game, which is put ball in hole. Okay, here's a major problem with the storytelling in this game. You're in a mission where you're looking for a guardian who went out on their own and are in danger, and then you find them dead. You bring Shahan back, her ghost, which is essentially akin to bringing back her remains, and he says, "Even the light has limits. Sometimes you don't come back." Paired with goofy expressions and not really sounding all that somber. And then by the end of him talking, he's delivering lines in an almost sing-songy, chipper tone. Come on, man. You get a text prompt that's basically like, join the cult of the light and you're in the game for real now. You've unlocked quests, which are your main guidance on what to do, just like in every video game. Alright, and now you're off to go get your new subclasses. You meditate, and then you go into the mission with the spinning pillars that go through the floor and the walls and whatever. I was familiar with this from a video I watched years ago, but I just assumed that they fixed stuff like this when they revamped the new player experience, but I guess not. I don't know. It sort of feels like a petty thing to complain about, but it's just a weird first impression as you're getting into the game. One thing you might notice at this point is that you're so strong right away. There aren't any white weapons or green weapons anymore, really. So you start at blue rarity, and incremental progress just really isn't there at the start. Maybe that's a thing you think is better, but when I start an RPG, I like getting just a little stronger at a time, and then eventually getting more and more abilities tacked onto my weapons to make big jumps later when I'm doing in the game. And this is probably just a preference thing, but basically right after I made a note of this, I got a legendary weapon at the end of the mission, and then I got an exotic right after that. I know, again, this is a little nitpicky, but if every weapon you get is legendary, then it's not really legendary anymore. You can kind of just go through the motions now as you carry on in what I think are reprisals of Destiny 1 missions, but I might be wrong. It might just be the area that makes me think that. And wait, what am I hacking here? Just like a door? Not even like a keypad or anything? I guess I'm in like a pseudo tutorial-ish state still, so I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's still a little too easy at this point in the game right now. It really doesn't even feel like you can die here. The next mission is a classic trope of a guy you've just been doing missions for suddenly deciding to be a dunce and going alone on the mission you definitely should have been brought along on. So now you have to go chase him down and save him. This is really the first time you get to kind of explore the full overworld of the planet, and man, it just feels really empty. I don't know how to fix it, but there just isn't life to the worlds when you're just in patrol areas. I kind of feel this way about most of the earlier introduced planets in this game. I think they do a better job about this in the later locations they've added. You get to the end and you save Shahan and he just kind of stands there talking to where it wants you to be standing still. I'm convinced this character is a C-3PO style robot that someone has just slapped skin onto. Once you get to the tower, you get actually good voice acting by Zavala and Ikora, especially Zavala. It just feels like they are leagues above every other actor in this game. And then I, of course, took the recommended class bundle because surely Bungie knows best. You do your first strike at this point. It's another reused Destiny 1 thing, which is what the free-to-play stuff mostly just is at this point, but whatever. You have to run the strikes match made, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that here. I get the idea is like, the game's better with people, so we should introduce them to that, but I feel like I'm still just getting into the game and getting used to stuff, and it would be nice to just get a solo run at something like this. And here is where those bungee hooks burrow into my brain again. I gotta be real. The weapons feel so good to use. This is what I'm talking about, where nothing really feels exactly how this game does. I think maybe the reason they push you to get the solar subclass is because the Sunshot kicks dick, man. It's such a good feeling weapon. It's kind of the core of what Destiny really is, so maybe Bungie really does know best, and I wasn't being sarcastic earlier. And we learn some more about the Witness, who still looks Disney-coded to me, but I cannot articulate the reasoning why. You unlock the Guardian ranks now, and my plan going into this was to use the Guardian ranks as a template for how to play, but I gotta be honest, I did not do that at all. I finished a couple rank ups and then it just sort of felt like, man, if I get it done, I get it done, whatever. After you return to Zavala, you get a pop-up advertisement for the new DLC. This seems like a pretty reasonable time to try to get you to buy something. You've gotten a taste of the game, of the story, and you've been playing for a few hours at this point. So you are at a reasonable breakpoint, but I do want to keep my eye on this going forward and see how pushy they are with these. Here it gives you the quests for Beyond Light, Shadowkeep, and Witch Queen. I guess here is a good place to talk about the way they partitioned the free-to-play versus paid portions of this game. They have made Shadowkeep and Beyond Light campaigns free. They even include the Stasis subclass for Beyond Light, which is great, but the most desirable parts of these DLCs, meaning the dungeons, the raids, and the exotics, still have to be paid for using the Shadowkeep pack and the Beyond Light pack. And these aren't even cheap for this outdated content. They're $20 a piece, which is a Hollow Knight Silksong each for content that was released years ago at this point. Also, you can't tell when looking at your quests what you'll actually be able to complete in full and what are just teasers for things you have to buy. And you may say, Soul, you just want free stuff, which is true, honestly, gimme, but also it does make for sort of a cock tease of an experience when you're playing and you start a story and then you can't finish that story or even get like any satisfying answers for any of the things that are brought to you. It also is not shared across the Steam family plans, which I realized later on because my main Steam account shares games with the one I played this on, which is pretty good for me in this one particular instance because I wouldn't have noticed until way too late when making this, and I would have wasted a lot of time. For the DLCs that aren't included in the free-to-play, they have you do the opening missions of them as sort of a teaser to convince you to buy the full DLC. It feels a little weird because I know from past experience they put these cutscenes and story front-loaded into the first mission to kind of feel like you're going to get more of it than you actually do when you buy the whole thing. I click on the arrival mission for Witch Queen and I'm given difficulty options here, so let's try Become Legend. I'm convinced your power level means nothing in this game, and I might as well do the hard one. I don't know if the moving through time stuff really makes any sense, but nothing really does to me in this game through a combination of me being dumb and the game not explaining some stuff very well. Here is where I realized I was on open comms for the strike earlier. I hope my teammates were able to hear me absolutely singing my heart out while I was with them. The mission here starts out just okay, but then you get to the Hive stuff and it's very good. 8 out of 10, too bad I won't be playing the rest of this DLC. I really like these 2D stylized comic book feeling cutscenes they use. In theory, the stories they're telling here are just so cool. I mean, I sat and I listened to those hours-long Bife videos about the Hive or whatever, but in practice, it just feels hit or miss. You get out of this cutscene and then you get hit with a buy this DLC pop-up afterwards. I went back to the tower and I met Zer for the first time here, who was just like a spooky black market guy. He's offering a speeder that's a surfboard, which has to be one of the coolest aesthetic items they've added in the game, and I will get this before I complete this video. When I got into the Beyond Light DLC, I was surprised with how much you actually got for free, since you can actually do like a full campaign, and I was expecting at most like a couple missions. But when watching the opening cutscene, it brought to mind the old question I've had since D1, which is, why the fuck can't I play as a Fallen? A Fallen Hunter would be so sick. The other races too, sure, whatever. But the Fallen are the ones that seem the coolest and most obvious. They're just us with 4 arms. Like, come on. And okay, I should have played this before the Witch Queen because holy, this is a step down. The voice acting, animations, story, it's all just a little rough. I finished up that opening Europa mission and went offline for the night, but when I came back the next day, immediately upon selecting my character, it put me in the Edge of Fate cutscene. Okay, I'll just watch it, I thought, but then it just threw me into the first mission of that DLC. I probably would have saved this for one of my final missions if it didn't just decide I needed to do it right now, because I thought it'd make more narrative sense that way. At least the cutscenes and voice acting here is a huge step up from what I was previously playing. This mission here is based around becoming a little shocky ball, and it's fun enough. It does put enough breadcrumbs out there that I am intrigued by the story, but I'm a free-to-play player, baby. Guess I'll never know what happened out there. They're a little heavy on the Marvel-style dialogue, which I don't love personally. And then we're back to being silent, which I am indifferent about. Back to orbit, and there is pop-up number 3 telling you to buy stuff from Eververse. Okay, we'll just exit out of that, and we get another pop-up telling us to buy the Year of Prophecy. It's starting to get a little annoying. Like, bro, are you trying to be a mobile game? Oh. Back over to Beyond Light. The cutscenes are so fucking dorky for this DLC, but whoever decided to just give you unlimited abilities as you're getting prepped to acquire a new subclass really gets it. It feels so cool to have so much power, and it gets you excited to get this stuff permanently. The story here doesn't really have anything too interesting to go over in detail, so here are the key points of this DLC. 1. You know we get another pop-up. Hell yeah. 2. Once again, Zavala, best voice actor. Even when everyone else is faltering, he's so great. Maybe it's just that his natural voice is built for this. I don't know. 3. They put Shah Han in this. Why do they love this character so much? He's so dull. He feels like if you grew a youth pastor in a lab. But I am glad that Fohux survived in the universe this long, because that is obviously a transcendent cut. 4. Why do the cutscenes look like this? Everything looks just a little worse in this DLC. And 5. I was extremely excited that I actually got to keep Stasis for free. I will be using Stasis for 95% of my playthrough going forward because 1, it's cool, and 2, I've used it a lot less than the other subclasses. I decided to take a little break from super narrative focused stuff, and I thought an exotic mission would be a great activity for the interim between stories. So I booted up the 0-hour mission. Now, this mission is marked at light level 200, but once again, light level doesn't really matter, and so I'm sure I can do it around 65. Running this solo actually proved to be a bit of a problem for me, and I ran out of time like 4 times, so it took me like 3 hours to get this done. I know I could have just come back later, but I'm way too stubborn for that. I could not let it go on a loss, even though I'm not really even sure if I want to use this gun or not. I think this mission is pretty good. It is more about solving the mysteries or puzzles of each individual area than it is about like the second to second gameplay. So on subsequent replays, it's not really quite as engaging, I think. And then when I logged off and went to bed, I left OBS running for hours because I'm just a silly little guy. And now I have 6 hours of black screen recordings saved to my computer, which I'm sure I will find a use for. Alright, it's time to do the Shadowkeep story now. This is the other full campaign that they added to the free-to-play experience, and here I kind of had a realization that I have to just play with the weapons that I want to, because I'm slowing myself down going for bounties that I don't really care about. I'll pick them up, but I'm just being overloaded with stuff to do right now, and if I complete them, fine. If not, that's fine too. I can't be falling for the cheapest way to pad out game time because I need to complete this at some point. The first mission in, a thrall gets stuck on the other side of a wall, and I have to innovate a little. If I didn't have stasis here, I don't know how I'd do this and then proceed without just starting over and hoping this didn't happen again. It's kind of a bummer that they gave us a whole Shadow and Ghost and Hive themed DLC, and then they never hit the atmosphere of that very first New Light mission where you start the game. After some busy work, you're sent to the Scarlet Keep strike. This strike is fine and I don't have that much to say about it, but when I queued, I got no teammates until near the end of the strike. I know this is just an issue with the player count probably, but having teammates come in late is kind of the worst of both worlds. You don't get the fun of persevering solo, but it also doesn't really feel like you've completed it as a team either. Also, issues with player count in an always online live service game can't be brushed off as nothing. The whole game is based around the expectation that there will be other players alongside you. The highlight of this story is definitely a mission where you have comms cut off and you have to run away. It's a nice return to that dark aesthetic, but the swelling music is just kind of off and ruins the atmosphere a little bit there. Also, being on the moon makes you kind of unsure how the afterlife works in this universe. Like, are these ghosts? Are ghosts real? Are these a time thing? Echoes of the past? Why are they only here on the moon? You get some more cutscenes and they actually look pretty good, especially in comparison to Beyond Light, even though this came out before that did. They do finish off the story with like a bit of, you remember this? This is Crota. You remember? Do you guys remember D1? Guys, remember Gaul? But maybe I'm just being a little too cynical about this whole thing. There's a neat little cutscene that I like with Mirror Us, and then we're done with this DLC. Overall, I liked this DLC, and I think it's not a terrible choice to add to free-to-play. Once again, after completing like a story thing, I thought it'd be a good palate cleanser to do something mindless. So I jumped into a few solo ops and then a few fire team ops, and these things are actually pretty fun. Both the solo ops and the fire team ops are just a great little time waster. I think this is like a much better version of the Strike playlist. Basically, if you have just a few minutes to play games, you can just run a few low risk, low reward missions that take about 7 or 8 minutes apiece. And just like the old Strikes, like there's no way that you care about the self-contained story within them, but it's fine. It's just to waste time. You get quite a bit of XP for this, and also I hit Guardian rank 4 with these. I was sure that I was going to just go do a couple things and then I was going to come back and grind through more of these Guardian ranks, but rank 4 is where I ended this whole thing at. The next quest I decided to go for is Timeline Reflection. This consists of a series of missions that are pivotal story moments from the past to kind of catch you up on the big stuff that may or may not tie into the future story. The first mission is Cayde's Fate, and okay, I do not know why they kept Shadowkeep as a free thing instead of the Forsaken storyline. It might be for storage space reasons, but come on, it already takes like 1 billion gigs to put this game on your computer, and this locale is miles better than the moon, and I'm not one of those diehard Cayde guys, but this story is a ton better too. I just honestly do not understand. So this mission is pretty good, but it's also just a reminder of the bad choices they make with what to give us and what not to. There is a funny moment at the end of this mission that has the tonal dissonance of getting gear at a weird moment. So I'm in my inventory looking at a new R-stringer while my ghost somberly says, "His ghost, it's dead." The cutscenes do look really good though here in the visuals of the level itself, and despite Cayde being a Marvel-style snarky quip deliverer, it kind of works, and it is a pretty serious moment that's treated with like real gravity here. Next up, Crux of Stasis. This one just sucks. It's just a short version of one of the Beyond Light missions. I think it was just added to get you convinced to buy Stasis in a time before they made that whole DLC free. Third mission is Lucent Hive. This one is good again. The cutscenes now are fun and it really helps set up the witness stuff, and the throne world is one of the most interesting places they've added in the game. And I just like the Hive. Give me more Hive story. Let me play as a Hive guy, whatever. Now onto Stranded. They went a little all out with the spectacle here. Everything just looks cool and polished and new, and Strand is so fun. The only downside is this mission seems to serve more as a buy this DLC kind of teaser instead of actually really progressing the story that you're being told here. Because I've played this campaign before, I can say this is kind of a high point of this DLC, and the story is more annoying outside of it, but man, as a sucker for movement-based tech, I really wish this would have been free. I would not take off the Strand class if it was given to me permanently. When starting up the opening mission for Lightfall, the first thing you notice is that this setting is visually great. But going back to a point from earlier, I do think they load up a ton on good cutscenes early on in these DLCs, but don't do that many later on, so that you're kind of lured in. Once again, when I got to the infinite ability spam section, I was having such a good time. It feels really cool to swing around like Spider-Man and to feel the full capabilities of these powers. But the story is really not feeling cohesive at all at this point. I'm not sure entirely how any one thing slots into any other a lot of the time. Several of these stories do feel like they would be better if they could be shoved together in another timeline reflection type of quest line to kind of tie them together, but I guess then maybe they wouldn't work as well as advertisements for the DLCs. Even the little bit of contact you have with Nimbus here is enough to know he's gonna be annoying and you're not gonna want to keep talking to him. Get out of that and you get a pop-up to try to get you to purchase the Lightfall DLC. It has been a while since we've gotten one of these, but if you did these quests in a different order, you would just feel bombarded. Into the final shape intro mission, we start off relearning about the Golden Age for like the third time. I guess since you don't know when people are going to come in and what they're going to play first, you kind of just have to retell certain story beats over and over. This cutscene kind of has the vibe of like cobbled together movie posters, but I'm not gonna lie, it's still kind of hype. The cutscene after that shows like an old bazaar and the people in it, and it's actually so good. It's great when there's like a galaxy level threat, but they like zoom into the micro of it to show the individuals that are being affected by said threat. It gives it more humanity. That being said, more importantly, in this cutscene, there's a sick ass Fallen with an acoustic guitar, and they should let me play as that guy. Come on, Bungie, I'm not really asking for too much. I'm going to take this opportunity to complain about a little something they do in this game that continues in this mission. The characters in this game have about 10 sciencey sounding words that they love to use. They just throw them onto like every other sentence. And if I never heard the word paracausal again, I think I would actually love it. I think that would really improve my life. Now, to bring some positivity back, the new Scion enemies they added in this mission got me thinking about the enemy design deeper in this game, and the initial enemy designs from when they launched the game range from passable to up to high tier probably, but I really like the newer enemies they've added in the last few years that are just different additions to the old types. When they added the Scorn, I thought that they were a cool augmentation to the Fallen, and since they've added light to enemies, they've become even more interesting. In Witch Queen, they added the idea of adding a finisher to permanently kill Lucent Hive, who have been imbued with the power from ghosts, which I really liked. And I love these little Scion guys out of here, who use Strand to suck you in and bounce you around, and there are a few more examples of this, of expanding on the ideas of old designs to amp them up, and I just really hope they continue to do more going forward to beef up the roster of entities that you come into contact with. Sadly, the storytelling from the cutscenes that I was gushing about them nailing earlier doesn't really continue once you're inside the mission. There's like a part where they do the trope of, just tell him that and we respond with, he knows. But come on, they're just asking you to do one thing for her. Just tell bro. Whatever. We're like inside the Traveler now, and it's like heaven, I guess. It's another instance of them hitting you with the scraps of a story, but I won't be able to get most of the pieces because I'm not swiping my credit card. But back to the positivity, I find myself really preferring these landscapes here. This fake, vibrant looking landscape instead of the like trying to go for realism that you see elsewhere in the game. If you stylize something, it just looks better than trying to make it look as real as you can. Whoa, Dido? They put Dido Does Destiny in this game? Neat. And here it kind of weirdly acts like I've unlocked Prismatic for real. It even gives you a permanent thing to click on in the inventory, but I definitely don't have it for real because of the aforementioned aversion to swiping. I do like that the ghost says, "That was intense. I need a minute," but in a way that really sounds like I just milked him dry. And we conclude with finding Cade's back. Yippee! But I'm assuming he doesn't stay back alive since he's not like in the tower again or anything in the world, but I don't really know. Go back to orbit and we get my favorite part of the game, a pop-up trying to convince me to purchase the final shape. Just continuing to check off quests now, we go to Dares of Eternity. This is like the TikTok version of Strikes. Stuff is happening all the time, but it's just meaningless stimulation. It's like you're in a casino, but you don't even get the best part of a casino, which is obviously seeing the oldest people you've ever seen emotionlessly pulling levers in front of slot machines. I think that maybe this could be fun if you had a full squad of 6 people, but come on, if you're gonna get 6 friends together, you're gonna do a raid. This is the first time I'm being introduced to barrier champions, though. There are like 3 different types of champions in the game that take perks from your seasonal artifact to deal with. I don't think the game has told me about this at all, and if I hadn't played before, I don't think I would have even known where to look to find out what to do. Clearly I'm not alone in this because other people are definitely not shooting shields here, and I don't really know what else to say about this. I will not be playing this a second time. Okay, I have to come clean. I love PvP in Destiny. Part of what drove me away from this game before is that Bungie clearly doesn't. There was a point in Destiny 2's life where it was like 3 years between new maps being added to the game, but I just can't hate it. I love how frenetic it can be. I love the way that guns and the abilities feel. I just wish there was a replacement out there for a PvP game that could replace it for me, but I just really don't think there is. So, first up, let's do Relic, because I think a 6v6 will be easier to get used to the feeling of PvP again than a 3v3. And I waited for 10 minutes, never getting more than 2 out of 12 people in the lobby, which is not a great start, but okay, I guess we'll just do Rift. And honestly, between you and me, Destiny is at its best in a 3v3 format, and I can be a sweaty little rat. And luckily, this time I got all the way up to 3 total players before it went back to 1 out of 6, and I still didn't get to play a game. What the hell? Is the game really this dead, or what's happening? I was queuing late at night for this, but it was like 10 minutes I was waiting to not get like nearly enough players to play. Okay. I don't love free-for-all like I do the other modes, but I guess we're settling for Rumble here. And it still took me almost 10 more minutes to get into this match, and it ended so quickly because one guy went like 20-3, and I was in second place with 5 kills, and this was the part of coming back I was most excited to try out, and it's just been miserable. I ended up finding one more game of Rumble after several minutes of waiting, and I didn't do well at all in this one, so now I'm regretting even starting this whole project. This was during an event week where there was a special Crucible playlist called Heavy Metal Supremacy that I had gotten a pop-up for earlier that had a launch node in the tower. But when I went to look now that I was doing the Crucible section, it was just gone. I was confused because I was absolutely sure that it was there the day before, but did I just hallucinate it? I looked at the quest for it in my quest tab and I couldn't launch it from there either. Weirdly, I looked at the Crucible node in the Destinations tab and there are only the Rumble, Rift, and Relic playlists. I don't know how to get into this. Am I supposed to just click my heels and wish my way in? I feel like I'm going insane. But later on, I just happened to stumble upon it in a menu when I was looking for something else in the seasonal tab. So the only way to launch this, I guess, was through the seasonal tab, which has nothing to do with Crucible outside of this. It really felt unintuitive, but is this just me? Maybe Bungie just wants me to feel stupid specifically? I'm not quite sure. So now I cue into this heavy metal supremacy playlist. And I love the dorky, intense guitar riffs they threw over this. It's really a nice juxtaposition for the most boring shit you can play. Why is this playlist even here? It's like a stripped down version of everything about the Crucible that I find enjoyable, just to put you in a slow ass tank. Is this why I can't find a normal Crucible match? Because people are busy playing this soulless, like, slop playlist? I'm sure some people are going to say, skill issue, brother, get good, but I felt like I did fine in these games. And also, if I only enjoyed games I was good at, I would fucking hate gaming. I got to be on the Brig side after a couple games, and it was a little better, but it's still not really fun. I just don't know, man. I did, however, get enhanced eager edge on a sword though, so 10 out of 10 would grind again. The next activity to check off the list is Gambit, and admittedly Gambit isn't a game type I loved before or one I expect to love now, but at least I got a game here, and wasn't really waiting very long to do it. I think this game is fine if you want to turn your brain off and listen to a podcast or yap in Discord with someone, but as an activity you'd focus on, not really it. I think it was a interesting twist for a game mode when they released it. Oh, it's PvE, but versus another team. It's like almost like a pseudo speedrun thing. But it doesn't really feel that good to win, or really that bad to lose. It's just kind of there. I don't really have too much more to say about it. It's fine, I guess, but I'd rather run one of the ops playlists. I decided now to go back to the New Light questline. Let's plug the holes in the story, which at this point feels like it's most of the story, but we're sent back to Earth to meet Devrim Kay. He's kind of just a nothing character. He's basically just a cardboard cutout that gives you a couple lines of dialogue about how you need to kill everything that's come to this planet. But the good thing about this quest is I did get Risk Runner, and it is just another one of those Destiny weapons, those classic weapons that just feel so good to use. And these moments are what make you forget about the dumb stuff that made you mad in the game, and you remember that video games can just be about the little dopamine hits for shooting enemies in the face. Back to Zavala, and you kind of get the feeling that he'll say something of import, but then New Light is just another quest that ends not with a bang but with a whimper. It all just feels so inconsequential. They're like, here's your gun, go shoot things, don't ask why, just shoot things, which I do want to do, but man, it just feels a little directionless, right? You really get the feeling like you're coming to the end of the free-to-play buffet at this point. The Relic is a questline that runs in tandem with the Witch Queen campaign. You go to Ikora and work with her team of Hidden, which are like Guardians, I guess. I don't really know what the difference is between being a Guardian and being one of her Hidden. If being a Hidden's like a special class of Guardian, shouldn't I outrank them for all the stuff I've done? But whatever, yippee, I'm a Hidden now. You learn about weapon shaping, which is neat. Being able to craft certain weapons with exactly what perks you need is another thing to keep you a little more invested, because farming the red borders feels way more possible than farming a god roll sometimes. Ikora then sends you out to figure out more about building new weapons. Right around here I was kind of thinking about how hard it is to understand what they're going to let you do for free, or why certain missions made the cut for the free-to-play experience. At this point, some Destiny veterans might be going, well, why did you do it in that order? You dunce, you buffoon, you troglodyte. But I'm just not sure what order I should do stuff in. I think you could argue for order of release, but then when do you do the timeline reflection? And if I'm not a returning player, how do I even know what release order is? It doesn't really feel like a different order would make the cohesion better, but I just thought I'd say something here. You go back to the throne world, and once again, it's a super interesting location, and I'm glad to be back here. But the ghost dialogue does get a little grating after a while. It's really weird delivery. It might be a deliberate choice to make him sound like this, and I know the guy who voices your ghost is a respected voice actor, but I just don't love the delivery in this game. And then the ghost dialogue with each other is annoying, but you just keep listening as a hope the story will wrap up and be worth it in the end, but this storyline just also kind of fizzled out into nothing. You go back to the relic and you're taught some more stuff about leveling weapons that I guarantee everyone just clicks through as fast as you can, like me, just to be upset when you don't understand it fully and blame the game instead of yourself, but I digress. I know when I played before, opinions were a little split on crafting weapons. The argument being that once you grind for the patterns, you don't really have anything to play for, since getting new guns with new perks is kind of the end game. I don't know how the community is feeling about it these days, but I think that the system works pretty well. The quest sends you out to just do busy work here, basically, so I decided I was going to do an Onslaught mission because I haven't done one yet, and I have to do a Vanguard playlist thing. I think I really like this game mode. They've gotten a lot better since last time I played about adding activities that are more fun to do as the interim activities than back when I played before. A couple years ago, it felt more like it was like, hey, go out and do 1,000 public events, fuck you. But people have been asking for like a horde mode game type in this game for years and years, so I'm glad that it seems like that they actually kind of nailed it when they finally got one in. When they had added stuff in before that was pseudo horde mode, it didn't really fit the same vibe, didn't really do it. It did not count as a Vanguard playlist activity though. I guess I have to read things more closely. I don't know if it's just me that sees like, go do Vanguard Ops and immediately thinks, oh, I just have to do any of those playlists with Ops in the name that are Vanguard. But I'm not sure if that's just a me problem or if it's a mistake that other people will also make. After completing the Vanguard Ops mission, the quest just kind of sends you place to place to keep you busy until the quest just kind of ends. There's not really a big bad, there's no fanfare, it's just kind of over. There's not really a ton of accomplishment felt at the end here. Reclaiming Europa is the last of the quests that are actually things with story attached that I need to finish up. So I started that to complete this section, and I think I hate just about everything about the Beyond Light DLC. Except the subclass, which is great. And maybe I'm being too harsh on this location, but man, it just does not spark joy. Which is kind of crazy, right? Because most of the time in video games, you think of the snow level or the ice level or whatever, and that's the one you look fondly upon a lot of times, but just not here. I don't know. This quest line sort of just feels like a shortened version of the Beyond Light campaign. It leads into another short quest that seems interesting enough, but then it just doesn't really go anywhere. I don't have that many activities left at this point, so here's where I decided to knock out the rest of the exotic missions in a row while I'm getting close to 200. Whisper of the Worm. This mission is pretty good. I really think Bungie are at their best when they are designing little dungeons and encounters that are like these exotic missions. I've done this one before, so I kinda remembered what to do and didn't have too much trouble here. The main thing in this mission is it forces you to get close with the blights, so you can't hide at a distance and just take bot shots. They love these jumping puzzles where they just have the camera askew just to like mess with your perception. I feel like this is the mission that really started that, but I don't know. Encore. I don't want to brag or anything, but I am fucking stupid. Okay, so I took so long making the same mistake on the little elevator maze part when I just had to take one different turn. I think I'll probably just end up adding footage here where I succeed so all these missions look like they were much easier for me than they were. There's something about the way they make a lot of these puzzles in this game. Like, I don't get that much of a sense of accomplishment when I complete the puzzle, but rather I'm just kind of kicking myself once I'm done because I feel like it took me too long. I will not be introspecting about this. I will be blaming Bungie entirely for this problem with my psyche, and that being said, I do like this mission pretty well. There was a point where I hit the time limit, and I was expecting to get kicked back to orbit to have to retry, but then I just kept going, and I finished it in around 2 hours, which is about double the time limit. It really negated the feeling of, oh, I need to be swift but precise. It's not like this sapped all the accomplishment from me, but it did make it feel like low stakes. Also, it's another story that they're giving hints to that I was invested in, but now I have no idea how to find out more about it. Kel's Fall. This one has a neat little gimmick where you go into the mirror version of the world to traverse new areas. I love the way they made it look inside this mission. I actually did die quite a bit more in this one. I'm not sure if that's because I was sort of zoned out while I was playing, or if it's just a bit more difficult than the other activities I've been playing. I don't have that much to say about it, but I do think this is my favorite of the exotic missions, and was kind of one of the high points. The negative here is another instance of, I wonder about the deeper lore with this, but I don't really know how to find it without just reading a sterilized version of it online. And I like reading fantasy as much as the next guy, but I don't know if I love supplementing my video games with short stories that you have to find online for stuff like this. This is where I actually hit power level 200. The Pinnacle Ops playlist really gives you that extra boost when you're trying to level up. Star Crust. This one is just fine. It's the shortest of these missions, but it's okay. It's not too hard as long as you aren't trying to go too fast. The pick the symbol mechanics are intuitive enough. It's just there. There's not much to say about it. I would have done the Dreaming City alongside the other, wrap it up missions earlier, but because there was no quest telling me to go there, I just kind of glossed over that there was even a mission to be done. I like this location a lot. The weird, ethereal kind of nature really suits it with the cathedrals and the landscape and everything. There's only one mission to do here, which is Awakening. It's like an introduction mission that there just isn't anything it's introducing. There isn't really much to say about this either because it's just set up for other things they've removed from the game. Only thing I really have to complain about is they love a disembodied voice of a ball of light or a ghost or whatever, which is fine, and it can fit the tone of missions, but I kind of wish we got more variety of just making a weird creature talk to us instead. You're in a fantasy, you can go all out, and instead you're just talking to a ball all the time. I was kind of excited to play through this story since I like Queen Mara, I like Petrovenge, I like the Awoken, whatever. But then you just do this one mission as that introduction and then that's all. Prophecy is the only dungeon included in the free-to-play portion of the game, and it is pretty good. Again, I believe content like the dungeons are where this game is really at its best. The moat mechanic is the main driving force of this dungeon. If you stand in the dark and kill a thing, you make dark motes. You put those in the dark spot. If you stand in the light and kill a thing, you generate light motes, which you'll put those in the light spot. I feel like I might be the smartest man in the world to be able to figure all this out. The fights are super chaotic. They're in very small spaces. They could be a good lock-in moment for you. The real problems I had with this dungeon are mostly due to my self-inflicted rules of I have to solo everything. I had done this dungeon once or twice with a team several years ago, so in my head this would be no problem. This ended up taking me 9 hours to do. The first fight in the desert area and then the final fight are both very cramped, and it makes it hard to avoid all damage. It sort of feels like one mistake, one out of place play, and it's all kind of over. Granted, I'm really bad at the game and I haven't put together an optimal build, so there is that, but it still was tough. I'm glad I did stick it out though, because I'm so stubborn and I'll stick to something when I decide to do it, even if it makes no sense to do. And I would have felt the accomplishment cheapened for some stupid reason if I did it the way that they intend, but I don't know. Also, OBS crashed and I lost the footage of the final boss kill that I wanted to include here. So I guess you can just assume I'm lying and never managed to beat it if you really want to hurt my feelings, but please don't. If you are a solo player who mostly plays games just to overcome challenges, stuff like this can be really nice for that sort of expression. Now that I feel like I've accomplished everything that I had set out to do at the beginning of this project, I was going to just do a raid, just for fun and just to have some more background B-roll. Sure, I won't be able to do any of the real relevant content here, but they've brought over 3 raids from Destiny 1, and they made those free. So this seemed like a good time to try to use the Fireteam Finder. I hadn't used this before, so I thought I'd test it out here. I think I only saw 2 posts for Vault of Glass that didn't have looking for experts and fast tags on there. Now, I've done all 3 raids in the past, but I haven't done them for years, so I wasn't really feeling expert here. Since there aren't a ton of posts coming through on this Fireteam Finder for this old content, I joined one of the rare posts that weren't tagged with those. I explained I had done the raid years ago on a different account, so I know what to do, but I don't feel like 100%. But it shouldn't be a problem. And then I was immediately kicked. To solve this, I just made my own post. I marked it newbie friendly, thinking I could get just a chill run, but I just sat there for about 30 minutes and no one ever joined. I thought, oh well, I guess you can't win them all. Maybe I'll just go use the LFG Discord. That's what I used to use when I couldn't get 6 together for a raid back when I used to play, so this will be fine. But then, when I went to register with the bot that lets you use the Discord, it said to use it, I have to buy one of the 2 most recent DLCs. What the hell? This is just someone who runs a Discord. They don't profit off you buying the DLCs. This isn't Bungie. This was a confusing roadblock for me. My last ditch effort was looking at a couple more LFG sites, but they had no posts for this old content, so I just decided, hey, this video is really about solo anyways. Maybe later I'll come back and talk about endgame in Destiny so that I can use that as a reason to run all these raids again. I really thought I'd come away from this project with a good answer on if you should play this or not, but it is kind of hard to say. On one hand, the mechanics of this game are great. I love shooting and sliding and looking backwards while I slide to see that my legs aren't actually connected to the rest of my body. And when the story is at its best, it's a really intriguing fantasy about the struggle for power across all these different alien races. And then, at its worst, it kind of feels like Bungie thinks that before you started playing, you took a drill into your brain and made enough holes that you wouldn't notice the unfinished story you're playing. I know that when they first released free-to-play, a lot of the community dubbed it free-to-try, and I think back then it really felt true, and now it sort of feels true still, but it really just feels like you're playing half of a game. And if that doesn't bother you, then hell yeah, you should jump in and you should just start shooting aliens, but if it does, you might just be better off, like me, getting on your hands and knees and praying to the gods that they'll release Destiny 3 so that we can all be on the same timeline again from scratch. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. I learned a lot while making this and would love to do more projects like it in the future. This video took me a lot more time than I thought it would to finish, so if you liked it, subscribe so you don't miss my next one. drop a like for the algorithm and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see or if there's something glaring that I missed. And if you didn't like the video, still subscribe because a hate watch is still a watch. You can also catch me streaming at twitch.tv/soul_2d if you want to harass me live. I'll post the rest of my socials in the description.